It's time for the Prete Is On with Dave Prete here on 92.1 The Team, WCKR Hornell. Here's Dave Prete.
And welcome everyone to the final week in June, graduation weekend. Congratulations to all of those graduates here in the area. It's been quite a year for all of you. So I'm sure it's a bittersweet moment. Bittersweet because you all lost essentially 3 months of your senior year, your senior trip, senior prom, and any the spring sports season and anything else that you had going on from March through June. But here you are. You're ready to walk down the aisle, get your diploma. Congratulations to you all. Very well deserved. So I am actually back in the studio this week, reunited, and it feels so good. Yeah, I won't quit my day job or my part-time job, which is the radio show as well. But I am glad to be back here in the studio, and the man behind the glass is here with me too, Brian O'Neill. Hey, Brian.
Dave.
Brian, it's been a long time since I've seen you.
I've heard you.
Yeah, well, we've heard your voice on the radio, but this is the first time I've been able to look at you through the glass. And
thanks to the power of Empire Access for their phone there.
That's right. Thank you to Empire Access. And actually, on the Empire Access line today on this show, we are going to have two very special guests. Mike Mcgruder from Hornell. Mike is a movie and film producer right here from Hornell. Actually graduated with me from Hornell High School in the class of 1991. That was quite a long time ago. And we're also going to have Clint Malarchuk. Clint, a former NHL goalie who played for a short period of time with the Buffalo Sabres, and actually in his time with the Sabres, and we're going to talk to him about this when he comes on, suffered one of the most gruesome injuries, some say maybe the most gruesome injury in the history of sports. We'll talk about that, and he's been very open about it and very open about some incidents that have happened later on in his life after his playing career. He sounds like a great guy, and I can't wait to have Clint on the show in the final segment. So here we are at the end of June, and we are just getting ready now to start some Major League Baseball, and it is about time because for a number of weeks, we have been anticipating what the season was going to look like, if there was going to be a season at all, and now there is. It took some time, and it took a lot of back and forth. It took a lot of, first it was, how are the players going to maintain their safety? And that's still a question, with the COVID-19, and now some of the states this past week coming out that their numbers have spiked, and those states are states that have multiple baseball teams playing in them, so we'll see how that works out. So at first it became a COVID issue. How are they going to keep the players safe? How are they going to travel? How are they going to maintain social distancing both on and off the field? Then as things started to open up, the conversation became more about financials. How much are the players going to make? How much are the owners going to lose? And then it became about, well, how many games are we going to play? First it was 100, then it was 80, then it went down to 50, then it was 70, and they settled at 60. So a 60-game season, which is 100 games less than what they normally play. It's going to be interesting for sure. And those teams that are set up to be successful for short seasons are going to be the ones that are probably going to be there in the end. They are talking now about expanding the playoffs. They've already expanded to 10 teams, and now they're talking about expanding possibly even more so that we can get some more baseball in. But, as a baseball fan, I just think that this thing from the beginning had disaster written all over it. And I said it on my show before a few weeks ago, and I'll say it again. I believe that in order for them to get this season in, which both sides seemed adamant about doing, I think it created a lot of potential damage in the long run. Because after next season, after the 2021 season, they're going to have the collective bargaining agreement talks. And you can bet your house that the situation that occurred this year with all the back and forth and the squabbling and the arguing about financials and how many games and the expectations of players and the safety of players and coaches and staff are all going to be brought up in that 2021 collective bargaining agreement discussions. And the last thing that Major League Baseball can afford to do is have another work stoppage. Now, I get that this year's was unavoidable. This was, circumstantial. And most people will overlook that, myself included, especially the traditional baseball fans who want to watch baseball no matter what. But your average fan, if they strike because of anything, not being the act of God or being the act of some pandemic like we had this year, they strike because of financials, they strike because they can't work out a contract, it is going to kill the game of baseball. And baseball already, in the past decade or two, has lost a lot of its fan base and a lot of popularity. So that's was my concern then. It's my concern now that this whole thing of trying to, get a season in and all the arguing that happened is going to be detrimental to the game down the road. But we'll see how that works out. You gotta look at the teams though and see who are the teams that are set up for short-term success in a 60-game season. And of course the Yankees come to mind. I mean, in the offseason they signed Garrett Cole, the top free agent pitcher who is arguably, some would say, the best pitcher in baseball. I don't know if I would say he's the best. I would say he's in the top 5 for sure. So the Yankees, with their offense and their pitching, their bullpen, definitely set up for short-term success. I would say the Atlanta Braves will be right there too. And as much as people don't want to hear this because they're now known as the cheaters of professional sports, but the Houston Astros, you have to figure, are going to be right there as well. They have, even with the loss of Garrett Cole to the Yankees, they still have a good pitching staff. They have a good bullpen, and they have a great lineup. If they're not beating on drums and, flashing signs from the outfield. And, we'll see how the Astros do in a season where they're going to be under a huge microscope and under a lot of scrutiny. So baseball on the horizon. July 24th and 25th is when it's slated to start. Again, a short season, but for fans of baseball like myself, we're going to have a season, which is the good news. Now, moving along to NASCAR. And I know that there are a lot of NASCAR fans here in the area. An unfortunate incident this past weekend where Bubba Wallace reported that, who is an African-American driver in NASCAR, the only African-American driver, reported that a noose was placed in his garage, and an investigation was done. It was found that there was not a hate crime, that the noose was there from months ago. But just the situation itself and the fact that it had to be investigated is really, really bothersome, especially in the day that we're living in, the time that we're living in, and we're actually going to talk later in the show with Mike Mcgruder, our guest, about politics and sports. I started talking about it last week. I want to get into it in a little more detail this week because Mike does have a lot of experience, especially working in Hollywood with politics and showbiz. So he's going to give his, in just a few minutes, when he comes on the show, he's going to give his insight into what he thinks politics and sports and in entertainment in general, what kind of effect it has on the fans and on the people who support, musicians and any kind of entertainer, and does it have its place in sports and entertainment? So in just a few minutes, we will be talking with Mike Mcgruder of Hornell, who, as I mentioned earlier, is a movie producer, and we can get into what his credentials are as well. And then also, and as I mentioned, also Clint Malarchuk, former NHL goalie of the Buffalo Sabres, will be on our show in the third segment. So we'll be back after this break with Hornell native Mike Mcgruder here on the Prete Is On 92.1 The Team.
Mullen Factory Direct Flooring in Almond is open, and they want you to know that they're following health and safety guidelines in order to keep everyone safe during this crisis. Mullins also understands that you may have a flooring project with a deadline that can't wait, like apartment renovations, new construction, an unexpected catastrophe. Whether you need it installed or you do it yourself, they'll do their best to make sure they take care of you with safety in mind and get that project done on time. They have over 500,000 square feet of in-stock flooring, and they offer special financing to qualified buyers. Mullen Factory Direct Flooring in Almond.
In the Army National Guard, family means everything.
Our parents, they were really supportive that all 5 of us would join. I got my education because of the Guard. I got to travel a little bit and experience a whole different culture. It helped me get my job, it helped me pay for my house.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard instills pride that you and your family will share. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the New York Army National Guard. Aired by the New York State Broadcasters Association and this station.
Drive forward at Maple City Dodge in Hornell. Check out the incredible deals. The lease specials are crackling hot. Well-qualified returning lessees lease a new 2020 Jeep Cherokee Latitude Plus 4x4 with an MSRP of $31,580 for only, are you listening, $299 a month. The Latitude has heated seats, heated steering wheel, and remote start. Lease includes 10,000 miles per year for 36 months. $3,000 in first payment due at signing, taxes, title, registration additional. This deal and so many more at Maple City Dodge.
And back here on the Prete Is On 92.1 The Team, we have on our studio line a special guest, Hornell native, who is a writer, director, producer, author, and publisher. He has worked in the entertainment industry for over 28 years. His professional writing career began with the original screenplay Tigerland, which was directed by Joel Schumacher and helped launch the career of Colin Farrell. The Puddle Club, which is a 2018 Indie Book of the Year, according to Kirkus Reviews, is the first book released under his publishing imprint, Hassel and Ferrul Books. He released Crisis Moon on January 21st of 2020. He is currently the founder, president of Creative Studios, a new conservative movie studio that will be producing original films and TV series in 2021. I want to welcome at this time, as I said, Hornell native, Michael Mcgruder. Mike, welcome to the Prete Is On.
Hey, thank you, David. I'm really glad that you reached out to me, and that's it's great to be on the radio with you.
And Mike, we went to school together at HHS, graduates of class of 1991, so that was quite a long time ago. Shows our age. But, here we are almost 30 years later, Mike, and, still keeping in touch. And I do the best I can to follow what you're doing, and it's really, really impressive, the career that you have put together in producing and writing and directing. So that being said, what got you into it? How did you get your start in the career that you're in?
Well, I mean, you know me from childhood. I just needed the attention. So acting is the natural path for somebody that likes to be the center of attention. And then somewhere along the line, I just got the bug for writing after reading a lot of screenplays, and I thought, this is a crafty way to write, an interesting way to tell a story without a lot of words, because a lot of a script is just explaining how cameras are what they're pointing at, what they're seeing essentially, and then some clever dialogue. So that really got me into the writing side, and I just left the acting side behind.
Now, actually quite impressive. We have actually 4 people right now who are in movies and in producing and things like that. A couple of weeks ago I had Carl Marino on, and Carl's. Oh yeah. And of course, Pete Parada from Arkport is in the band The Offspring. So, Mike, you are right in the ranks there of really successful people from Hornell, and I know we're really proud of you for that. So,
thank you.
Now, you're a conservative. Creative Studios is a conservative movie studio. Now, explain to me the difference between a conservative movie studio versus just your regular movie studio.
Well, conservative is just kind of the way you have to brand yourself when you roll out of the gate. But essentially, it's a movie studio that's committed to free speech. And so people get deplatformed, they get their livelihoods taken away, they get kind of kicked out of the game if they don't have the right political view. And the reason that's possible is because the distribution of content, whether it's television, even your Facebook feed. It's kind of all handled from an internal network of very like-minded corporations and people. So people who want to think, for themselves and enjoy, a true diverse opinion of the way the world should be, needed their own platform. So we built it, and the distribution. So it's coming next year. You'll be able to, you'll never be able to take something that we send out into the world and censor it. It'll always be going on a side channel away from the traditional distribution channel. So that's kind of all I can say at this time about the real technology there.
We're excited for that to come out. Now, as you and I have discussed before, and I'm sure it's, very common knowledge that a lot of Hollywood and a lot of the celebrities are very liberal-minded. They lean, very much to the left. And it's like you said, it's almost like conservatives are, outcasted, I guess, in showbiz. Why? But the one thing I don't understand, why is liberalism such a dominant trait among a lot of the celebrities? Like, what? I guess I don't understand it.
It's a real simple answer. It's the power of storytelling. The 1960s are a weaponized era that has really just been used over and over again to create false narratives about who we are as a people. And that's so powerful that, people listening may say, that sounds crazy, but, look at the shoes everybody wears at one given time. Everything is sold to you. And so to have control of the media really took place by people who have this worldview, this agenda of kind of flipping things on their head, started in the 1960s, built up into the late 90s, and then really blossomed under President Obama. So everything is just cyclical, and that's boring now. And the people who have been on that narrative have done it primarily for job security. Not everybody's crazy. I think like most people who consider themselves liberal or conservative all want the same things. They just have a different road to getting there. And, it's a weird, complex issue because, when your employment is tied to just simply towing the line, that's easy to do for some people, but for some of us, it's just not a place we're willing to go.
Mm-hmm. So obviously politics is a lot of what you do, and I know you're very involved and very outspoken in politics. And one of my narratives or my commentaries on my show last week was politics and sports. And
mm-hmm.
what I said in my narrative is that I really feel like sports and really any form of entertainment, if you go to a concert, if you go to a Broadway show, politics should not play a part in any type of entertainment that people pay for a ticket unless they know that that's going to be part of it. And, I want to use as an example what's going on in the NFL with the kneeling for the anthem, the kneeling for the flag. That is something that I would say probably is at least a 50-50 split. It might even lean more towards people not liking the kneeling than supporting it. Yet it's something that as a fan of football, as a fan of the game, when I turn it on, and again, I can choose not to watch the anthem. I can choose to, go to the bathroom, go to the kitchen, do something while the anthem's on so I don't have to see it. But I shouldn't have to do that because it shouldn't be part of the game. What are your thoughts about politics being in sports and in entertainment? Is that the place for it?
Well, I agree with you. It's probably not the place for it. But again, sports heroes make the culture as well. Everything really does come down to the culture, whether you get it from your sports heroes, whether you get it from the stories that you watch. It's all part of painting a picture and a reality that, is political. We can all see it because these things all flare up at the right time every time. It's like a cycle. You can set your watch to it at this point. But essentially, I don't think that it's a good thing. But I don't know how we're going to overcome it really, because I don't really know how to even respond to saying, should sports be politicized? Because when you and I were kids, it didn't feel unnatural to just stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been turned into something that maybe it feels dirty right now because now you're not doing the right thing. And that's all really, it ties back to the power of storytelling and culture creation. sports heroes have a lot to do with that. And that's why you see so many of them as spokespersons for things that other generations would say this is just insane.
Yeah, and after my show last week, I actually had a couple people who listened to it, and probably the only couple people that listened to it, who, and Brian's behind the glass laughing, but they said to me, if you want to use that argument, that's okay. That politics shouldn't be part of sports and social causes shouldn't be part of sports. People should do it on their social media platforms and whatnot. But if you're going to use that argument, then you have to also say that the military shouldn't be honored during games. Law enforcement and firefighters and first responders shouldn't be honored during the games, because then you're politicizing, the military and law enforcement and all that. So, as much as I think some people want to make it one-sided, if you use that argument, I guess in theory that also could and should be the case, correct?
Sort of, but it really, I think a lot of that military celebration really ramped up after September 11th. Let's be honest about that. It wasn't something that was over the top until there was a real need when the world changed on that day. So it's not something that I ever remember as a child being, too over the top. It just really happened when the New York Yankees had Ronan Tynan singing God Bless America every day like he was Pavarotti. I think that's where it was at peak over the topness. But it was a good thing. It was needed at the time. And it just, sometimes people just don't know how to end a good thing.
Yeah, and I remember during Desert Storm, too, a little bit. I remember some flyovers. I was at a Buffalo Bills game, and I believe it was the AFC Championship game against the Raiders in 1990 or 91 during the, the height of the Desert Storm, and, they flew a couple of the, big warplanes over the stadium, which was really cool. And then, of course, Whitney Houston with that memorable Star Spangled Banner in the first Bills Super Bowl. So, but yeah, I mean, you can go a number of ways with it. And, in fairness to the NFL, I know that they have, Roger Goodell's come out and said, hey, we're going to support, the Black Lives Matter, and we're going to support people who kneel, unlike, what we did before. But, at the same time, they also do have the salute to service, program or whatever you want to call it, that the NFL honors, and they wear the military attire for 1 or 2 weekends. So it's not like they're doing the one-sided thing. But again, it comes down to should it be there or should it not be there at all? And when I turn on a sporting event, or when I go to any kind of entertainment, go to a concert. I mean, geez, go to a Bruce Springsteen concert, and I feel like I'm being lectured on politics. That's not what I want. I want to hear music. I want to watch sports, and I want politics out of it. I will form my own political opinion on things.
So who is your favorite football team? It's the Buffalo Bills, right?
No, it's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we just have another minute left here, Mike, on the show. And again, I appreciate you coming on. Mike Mcgruder from Hornell, movie producer, director, and also author. Mike, final question for you. Andrew Breitbart.
Well, sometime in the late 90s, I figured out what was going on in Hollywood and that something wasn't right. So I did a reverse. And I pulled out, and I met Andrew through some friends. He'd written a book called Hollywood Interrupted. It's a fantastic book, and it kind of details all the terrible things that people with fame, money, and power do to other human beings. And so we connected and formed a group of friends and launched Big Hollywood, the first blog that ended up becoming Breitbart News. And that was really if you remember, the way that the left attacks things in the media is they put big in front of big tobacco, big this, big that. So we just flipped the tables on them and called it Big Hollywood. And, you're seeing the result now. The whole business is under attack, and that's really what we wanted to have happen. So it's disruption. It's time for a disruption of the movie business in this country.
That's awesome. Great story. And again, Mike, congrats on everything, on all your success. And it's great to see a local person like yourself, especially somebody who I had the privilege of, going to school with and graduating with. It's on this graduation weekend nonetheless. So thanks again for coming on, and, we'll have you on again, and we'll talk some more politics, some more, some more movies and sports and whatever the hot topic is at the time. So, keep in touch, and thanks again for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me on. It's great catching up with you, and good luck. I'm going to listen to this when it's broadcast.
Thanks, Mike. That was Mike Mcgruder, Hornell native, movie producer, director, and author here on the Prete Is On. And when we come back after the break, I'll have NHL hockey legend, goalie, Clint Malarchuk on the show right after this break.
We would like to recognize from Arkport, Canasarega, valedictorian Megan Patrick and salutatorian Holly LaFrance. And congratulations to the entire class of 2020 at Arkport, Canasarega. This salute brought to you by AirVent Aluminum and Vinyl, 14 Main Street in Arkport. AirVent Aluminum and Vinyl, phone 607-295-7773. And by Bradley Supply Incorporated, 25 Transit Drive in Hornell. Bradley Supply of Hornell, phone 607-324-4130. And by John N. Dagan, attorney at law at 29 Church Street in Hornell. John Dagan, attorney at law, phone 607-324-6690.
Mullen Factory Direct Flooring in Almond is open, and they want you to know that they're following health and safety guidelines in order to keep everyone safe during this crisis. Mullins also understands that you may have a flooring project with a deadline that can't wait, like apartment renovations, new construction, an unexpected catastrophe. Whether you need it installed or you do it yourself, they'll do their best to make sure they take care of you with safety in mind and get that project done on time. They have over 500,000 square feet of in-stock flooring, and they offer special financing to qualified buyers. Mullen Factory Direct Flooring in Almond.
Lewis Garage Doors of Hornell is now open for all your garage door needs. They've been serving the area for over 30 years. Lewis Garage Doors provides the best in sales, installation, service, and repair of your garage, overhead, and storage doors. Lewis Garage Doors is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. Phone 607-324-0271. 324-0271 for Lewis Garage Doors of Hornell.
And welcome back to the Prete Is On 92.1 The Team here in Hornell. And once again, a big thank you to Mike Mcgruder, who is a Hornell native that was on our last segment. He was a movie producer, director, and author. So thanks to Mike for coming on, talking about his career as well as some sports and politics, big topic nowadays. Coming up after my show is the Joel Orion Show, which runs from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. here on 92.1 The Team. On today's show, Joel is going to have Steve Traxel, a former Major League Baseball All-Star pitcher, and made the All-Stars in 1996. Spent most of his career with the Cubs and the Mets, and also played with the Blue Jays and the Orioles. He'll also have Chris Sabo. Sabo, a former third baseman for the Cincinnati Reds, Baltimore Orioles, the White Sox, and the St. Louis Cardinals, was the NL Rookie of the Year in 1988, would go on to become a three-time Major League Baseball All-Star and a World Series champion in 1990 with the Cincinnati Reds. Also, former Syracuse University tight end Roland Williams, who is from right up the road in Rochester, New York, would go on to play with the Oakland Raiders, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the favorite team of yours truly, by the way, the St. Louis Rams, where he would win a Super Bowl championship in 2000, and last but not least, a former NFL running back, most known for his time with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a six-time Pro Bowler, two-time member of the first-team All-Pro, the Walter Payton Man of the Year winner in 2001, and a Super Bowl champion in 2006, affectionately known as the Bus by most football fans, and that would be Jerome Bettis. So, great lineup for the Joel Orion Show coming up right after mine here on 92.1 The Team, starting at 10 a.m. So, good job to Joel. Good lineup there. Don't miss his show. So I have on our studio line a very special guest who I am very excited to have on and talk about his playing and coaching career in the NHL. And we'll also talk with him about what some say might be the most gruesome injury in the history of sports. And I want to welcome at this time former NHL goaltender, actually for a period of time, member of the hometown Buffalo Sabres, Clint Malarchuk. Clint, welcome to the Prete Is On.
Thank you. I love my Sabres still. It's probably, I had good years with them and very good years with Washington Capitals too. So, you form friendships, teammates, all that, and it lasts forever.
And Clint, you made your NHL debut with the Nordiques, Quebec Nordiques, on December 13th, 1981, and that start, your first start actually was against the Buffalo Sabres. Tell me,
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so what went through your mind in that first start? How nervous were you?
Oh, I got to tell you, it's actually kind of a funny story because we're going to kind of go back to the old school hockey. So Jacques Richard, I'm playing for Quebec, and Jacques Richard, 50 goal scorer in the NHL, had a heck of a great slap shot. Well, he hits me right in the head in warm-up. I'm a rookie. This is my first freaking game. Come on. Really? Jacques? And so I'm laying on the trainer's table. I didn't even finish warm-ups because I'm bleeding all over the place. And Michel Bergeron, our coach at the time, he walks in and says, "Hey, Clint," he could barely speak English, too. "Clint, play. And I'm like, "No, Michel, I am playing. And anyways, long story short, I did play and, got stitched up like we did back in those old days. So, yeah, it was all good,
Now, as I mentioned in the intro, you had one of the most gruesome injuries, and maybe some may call it the most gruesome in the history of sports. And it occurred as a member of the Buffalo Sabres. You were actually traded to the Sabres on March 6, 1989, and on a game in which you were playing goal for the Sabres against the visiting St. Louis Blues. So this happened in Buffalo on March 22nd. So just 2 weeks after you were traded. Steve Tuttle of the Blues and Huey Krupp of your team, the Sabres, crashed hard into the goal crease during a play. And as they collided, Tuttle's skate blade hit the front side of your neck and severed your carotid artery and partially cut your jugular vein. You began to bleed profusely on the ice to a point where there was actually a rumor that people were actually passing out in the stands because it was such a gory sight.
There's no rumors about that. Several people, there were, I think, 2 or 3 heart attack victims.
Oh my goodness!
That the blood was so profuse and it wasn't a movie. It wasn't going like to the theater. This is the real deal in real time. And people were laying around the corridors with towels on their head and all that. Oh yeah, it was a graphic deal.
What was going through your mind during that time? I mean, as you're laying on the ice, and I know that there was a doctor out on the ice, and they really didn't have time to get you anywhere because they had to act so quickly. What was going through your mind at that point?
No, I'll tell you exactly. But I thought I was dying, 100%. I thought I would only have maybe 3-4 minutes to live. So I was trying to kind of get my head. And I knew my mom was watching the game back in Canada on a satellite dish, and that was going through my mind a bunch because I didn't want her to see her son die, on TV. That'd be just terrible.
And you lost 1.5 liters of blood. So for anybody who doesn't know, that's a lot of blood. And it took doctors. I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot of blood. It took doctors a total of 300 stitches to close a 6-inch wound. What's amazing, though, about the whole thing, Clint, is you were back on the ice in 10 days.
Yeah. Well, I grew up, kind of a ranch mentality, horseman. I've always been a cowboy, rodeoed. And when you get bucked off a horse, what you do is you get right back on. So that was my thinking, but it wasn't probably the best deal to go because I really suffered later on with no counseling and all those things. So
you're actually known as the Cowboy Goalie because you were active in the Calgary, Alberta area where you were from. In the rodeo scene there during the hockey off season, you were depicted riding bareback in a front page newspaper photo while playing for the Capitals. I think that's awesome, Clint.
Yeah. You could get away with that stuff nowadays, you're on the newspaper, then your GM's calling you, and you're down at the rodeo grounds, and this is way before cell phones, so he's calling my mom to call the rodeo office, and all I said was, that wasn't me, that was my brother, misprint.
Good cover. Now, I want to transition to, I do want to talk about your coaching career a little bit later on, but I want to transition to your personal life. And of course, on the ice, you had a life-threatening, injury. And then in your personal life in 2008, you had an incident occur where you shot yourself in the face.
No, I hate that term, in the face. Who shoots themselves in the face? You shoot yourself in the head. In the head,
okay. And it was reported that it was a hunting accident at first, and then later you came out that it was a suicide attempt. How are you doing now? And during that whole situation, was that as a result or an effect of what happened on the ice?
Oh, definitely a result and effect. I mean, I had 20 years of PTSD that I was never diagnosed with. I was just dealing with it, and that day behind the barn, yeah. And you led up to it very nicely. I was just going through so much PTSD at the time, and I didn't know what PTSD was. No one ever even brought it up, and yet I just did a random deal where I picked up the gun. Yes, I was shooting targets out back and everything, but I just picked it up, and I did not want to die, but I did want to kill the pain, and that pain is a hamster running around in your brain.
What do you tell people who suffer from PTSD or any type of, mental anguish that, might be thinking about, harming themselves? What's your advice to them?
No, I understand your question 100%, but I would just say connect with people. If you're military, connect with other military men and women that are going through PTSD. Connect with me. Connect with, the message is you are not alone. Not alone. And there's a lot of people that understand it. A lot of people that really, really understand it, like myself. And we're here to help and to walk you through it.
Now, you've released an autobiography called The Crazy Game, which is in November of 2004 when that was released. And then in the United States, the book was published with the title, A Matter of Inches, How I Survived in the Crease and Beyond. The book appeared on the Toronto Star bestsellers list through January 2015 and was made into a documentary film. Tell me a little bit about the book and what the focus is.
Well, the book, to be honest with you, I just tell you flat out, I've almost died 3 times. And I'm not going to go through all the graphic details of the 3 times, but one obviously was a suicide attempt. And number 2 obviously was I almost died on NHL ice, So, it was kind of like when you are spared. I should be dead, right? 3 times. And when you're spared, you start going, holy crap, well, now I really got to think about this. Why was I spared? I was spared for those that are still suffering in silence. And because of the stigma and because of all the, mental health and mental illness and all these cliches and everything. No, I was spared to help those that are still suffering in darkness And that's why I wrote the book. And I cannot believe how many people out there, after I wrote my book, all the feedback I get and everything, I go, oh my God, there's a lot of people just like me.
So we're talking with Clint Malarchuk, NHL legend, former Buffalo Sabre, and of course, as we mentioned, involved in one of the most gruesome injuries in professional sports history. Now, Clint, you also have been involved in coaching in the NFL. You've had 3 different coaching stints as assistant coaches on 3 different teams. Tell me about your coaching experience. Did you like it? Is it something that you want to continue to do and something that's in your future?
No, it's not going to be in my future, but you never say never. But I love coaching. I love coaching. I love being a goalie coach. I love being a head coach. I love doing, but I'll tell you one thing straight up right now. I hate politics. I hate dealing with, I like dealing with a player one-on-one, or you're doing a power play. You're doing a penalty kill, or you're dealing with your goalies or whatever. I love that on-ice stuff. But you know what? I will never, ever go back to that political ownership, GMs, although I've had some great GMs that I've worked for and head coaches that I've worked for. But, yeah, no. Everything nowadays is so political, and I just won't do it. Mm-hmm. That's why I work with horses.
Yeah, no politics with horses.
No.
All right, well, Clint, we have unfortunately are at the end of this segment, and I need to go to a break, but I really, again, truly appreciate you coming on the show, talking about your career, your personal life, and your book. And how can people reach out to you? You had said if people have PTSD, they're welcome to reach out to you and share their experiences.
Yeah, and thanks for saying that, too, because I do a lot of work with our military veterans that struggle with PTSD, and I shouldn't say I do a lot of work. I am a supportive of all these military first responders, all these veterans, all that. And I have a website, Malarchuk.com. I have a book out there, so grab that if you want to. So
great. So that's Malarchuk, MALARCHUK.com.
Bingo, you got her.
Great, Clint. Thanks again for coming on the show, and love to have you back sometime. And keep doing what you're doing. I think it's a great thing, and I know you've been through a lot, personally and professionally. But here you are, like you said, three times almost losing your life, and you're still here, and I think that there's a reason for that. So thank you again for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you too. Thank you, Bart. Bye now.
That was Clint Malarchuk, NHL legend, talking about his life on the ice and beyond. And we'll be back with our final segment here on the Prete Is On after this break.
The Scoop on Seneca Street, Hornell is open. Yes, the Scoop is open, and they are there every day from noon until 10 p.m. Take care of that urge for a milkshake, frozen yogurt, for soft ice cream or hard ice cream. The Scoop at 126 Seneca Street, Hornell.
The New York Army National Guard salutes the high school graduating class of 2020. We recognize all of your hard work and the resilience you've demonstrated during this historic time for our country. Those are the traits for a great citizen soldier. You can continue to stand out and be a leader in your community as a soldier in the New York Army National Guard. Learn more about the benefits of part-time service in the Army National Guard at NationalGuard.com. Sponsored by the New York Army National Guard, aired by the New York State Broadcasters Association and this station.
And welcome back to the Prete Is On. This is the fourth and final segment, and once again, thank you to Clint Malarchuk, NHL legend, for coming on the last segment, talking again about his career and some of his personal challenges that he's had, especially dealing with PTSD. And again, if you want to contact Clint, if anybody is interested in talking to him about PTSD or any of his life experiences or his book, you can visit www.malarchuk.com. So thanks again to Clint for coming on. I want to spend the last segment talking a little bit about preseason, my preseason NFL football rankings, because here we are, we're almost in July, and if the NFL season begins, or the preseason, I should say, begins as expected under the the COVID conditions, it's really not that far away. I mean, they begin normal training camps in the middle of July, so we're only about 2 or 3 weeks away. So I think now would be a good time, with a few minutes left here in the show, to go over our NFL preseason power rankings. And these are my rankings. These are I'm going to go over the top 15 teams that I think going into the season are the teams to watch, the teams that I think are going to be in the playoff hunt. So if I don't mention your team, then they didn't make my top 15. But there's some new teams in here from last year. There's some teams that I think most people would expect to be in the top 15 or top 10. But here they go. I'm going to start, and I'm going to give you a little description of why I think they're ranked where they are. Number one, actually, let's go from 15 to 1. We'll go backwards. So the 15th ranked team in my preseason poll is the New England Patriots. And I know they lost Tom Brady. He went to Tampa Bay, and they lost Rob Gronkowski, and nobody even knows who their quarterback is going to be. I mean, right now the front runner is quarterback Jarrett Stidham, who nobody really knows anything about. But you have to remember, it's the Patriots. Bill Belichick isn't just going to run away and hide. I mean, this guy's, I'm sure he has something up his sleeve. A lot of people want to count the Patriots out because, well, they're the Patriots and people don't like the Patriots. But you can't. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they did win the AFC East again. I know the Bills are the favorite, and I do have the Bills ranked higher than the Patriots. But, man, you can't sleep on the Patriots and Bill Belichick. So I have New England at number 15 in my preseason poll. Number 14, I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger is coming back, healed up from his injury that kept him out all of last year. They drafted well. They have Martavis Bennett at wide receiver with Chase Claypool, who they drafted in this year's draft, and they've always have a tough defense, and it's somewhat of an underrated defense. I don't think the Steelers are going to win the AFC North. I think the Ravens are going to win the AFC North, but the Steelers are going to be right there, at least in a wild card hunt. At number 13, I have the Indianapolis Colts, and the Colts are one of those enigmatic teams who, you don't ever know what you're going to get from the Colts. They have Phillip Rivers as their quarterback, and the Colts, coming over from the Chargers where he spent his whole career. They drafted Michael Pittman Jr. In this year's draft, wide receiver. Jonathan Taylor, the running back, whom they traded up to get. They still have T.Y. Hilton. They still have Marlon Mack. So they got some weapons on offense. Their defense, though, is what I'm a little concerned about with the Colts. So yeah, the Colts are definitely going to be in the hunt, but I don't think they're going to win that division. And I'm actually going to have joining me to do the top 10 in just a few minutes, Bill Dugan, Hornell native. So let me get through up till number 10, and then I'm going to have Bill come in and go over the top 10 with me. Philadelphia Eagles, I have at number 12. Again, I like the Eagles. They're 2 years removed from winning the Super Bowl. They cannot keep stay healthy, though. They can't stay healthy, especially at quarterback. I'm going to pick them to win the NFC East just because I don't think that there's a team any better than them. You could say the Cowboys. Actually have the Cowboys at number 10, but I'd put them there reluctantly because just because they're the Cowboys, but it's going to come down to the Cowboys and the Eagles in that division, and you could put one at 10, one at 11 or 12 and introvert them and, not be wrong either way. So, number 11, I had the Bills, and I know some people are going to be upset I didn't put them in the top 10, but I still see the Bills as having some growing pains. Josh Allen still needs to show that he can play at an NFL level without risking injury. They do have Stephon Diggs, so he's got another weapon there. They still have a very good defense. I'm just not ready to put them in the top 10 yet. That could change, though, as we get closer to the season. So that was my first, that was 15 through 10. Now, I have Bill Dugan, Hornell native, former offensive lineman for the Seattle Seahawks and a regular on this show, joining us, and he's going to do the top 10 with me. Bill, welcome to the Prete Is On.
All right.
Hey, Bill, so we're doing the top 10. I'm doing my preseason NFL rankings, and I just did 15 through 11. I have the Patriots at 15, Steelers at 14, Colts 13, Eagles 12, and the Bills at 11. Number 10, Bill, I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys. What's your take on the Cowboys? I don't ever know what to make of them from year in and year out. You always think, they're going to be right there, they're going to be a contending team, and then they stink. Or some years it's like, they're not that good, and then they're right there. They win the division.
Right. Well, here's the thing: they do it. They are loaded with talent. There's no question about it. They really got a really good offensive line and a running game. I think 10 is kind of low. I think they're going to do better than that. I think they're one of the better teams in the NFC. That's just my opinion. Can they keep Dak Prescott happy? Is he going to sign a long-term contract? Obviously, he's tethered to the franchise tag. So I'm sure he's not happy about that, but we'll see how he plays. But with him at quarterback and they got a good offensive line and a good running game, I'd put him a little higher.
Yeah, they got Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup at wide receiver, so definitely they've got weapons on offense. And I think last year it was their defense that kind of let them down towards the end of the year. And I said just a few minutes ago when I was doing the Eagles at number 12, I said you could probably flip-flop the Eagles and the Cowboys and not be wrong. I think both of those teams are right there, in contention for the division, but I think the Cowboys, like you said, are
a little bit better, yeah. The Eagles are they've kind of fluttered out a little bit since their Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, they haven't been able to keep Carson Wentz healthy either at quarterback.
Right.
Number 9, Bill, I have the Minnesota Vikings. And, again, this is one I'm not really sure I want to put them this high. They did lose Stephon Diggs as he was traded to the Bills. Adam Thielen, their wide receiver, hasn't been able to stay healthy. But, man, they always seem to have a really good defense. And Kirk Cousins showed a lot of progression last year. And quite honestly, they're in a division that's not all that good.
No, that was going to be my comment, is the strength of the division, which is not really, up there to the caliber of some of the divisions. So even if they are the best in their division, how far they go after that is going to be questionable also, so.
But do you have ducks in the background, Bill?
No, I have a squeaky chair, but I just realized that, and I guess what? I'm not going to rock back on it.
I thought you were on a duck farm. Okay, so at number 8, I have the Tennessee Titans. Now, some people might say, hey, they need to be higher. They're going to, I think they're definitely the favorites to win the AFC South. But, again, I just think that the Titans are one of those teams where maybe they get overlooked every year, but I don't know. I think it's the benefit of playing in a not that great division.
Right, but then again, I thought they really played well in the play. They were a beast last year coming into the playoffs. What did they win, 1 or 2 games in the playoffs last year?
They won 2, yeah. They went to the AFC Championship
They had an awesome running game. They surprised a lot of people. Yeah, I would definitely say they're going to be a good team again this year. I would have them up where you have them. Or maybe a slot or 2 higher.
Did Ryan Tannehill warrant the contract that he got from the Titans?
I don't know. That's really hard to say. I thought he was mediocre in Miami, and as far as what he did in Tennessee, he ran the ball. They ran the ball down everybody's throats. So is that really him?
different system, different coach, and a different team.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
different. Yeah, and players get a different attitude when they get a different staff and a different group of players around them.
Yeah.
And we've seen that time and time. Like even like when Buffalo's lost so many players that they think, well, he's never going to be anything. Like Marshawn Lynch, Trent Williams. You can go on and on about Buffalo, and then these guys go on and shine somewhere else.
Well, speaking of moving on and going somewhere else, number 7, I have my beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are now being led by quarterback Tom Brady. You think I have them too high, Bill, at number 7?
Do I think Tom Brady's the answer? No, I think that they need more than Tom Brady. They need. He's definitely somebody to build something around, but I mean, he's going to need his protection. Tom's no young kid anymore, and he's not very mobile. If they can get the receivers and he can get, I'm sure he's going to do as much coaching down there as he's going to do playing. He's going to help that organization out immensely.
Well, he's already been in some hot water this offseason. He went to a person's house when they were supposed to be social distancing, and
right.
The NFL had a fit about that. And now, there's complaining about Brady and some of his offensive linemen and his, offensive players getting together and practicing, and they're not supposed to be because of the whole social distancing thing. So, wherever he goes, there's controversy, but there's also a lot of winning, too. So I'm hoping, as a Bucs fan, that'll continue with him in Tampa. Number 6, and after I did these, I was like, I don't know if I should put this team this high because number 1, they have an aging quarterback. Number 2, I just don't think they have a ton of weapons, but yet every year they seem to be a top 10 team, and I have at number 6 the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, Green Bay. And Green Bay's a very well-coached team, and that's another team with a really good offensive lineman, and Aaron Rodgers is I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, if he could stay healthy, and he's definitely a competitor. I would definitely have him high again this year, ranked up there.
Yeah, and I know there was a little bit of controversy, and it might have, ruffled his feathers a little bit by taking Jordan Love, in the draft, but he's going to have to get over that one because I think, he only has a couple years left, and why not teach a young guy like that to play the game?
Exactly, and these quarterbacks got to realize that, they're not just going to be the only quarterback until that they leave. I mean, you've got to bring somebody in and school them in and break them in slowly.
Absolutely. Yep. So that's going to be his role, just like you said, Brady in Tampa. Now, Bill, we only have 3 minutes left, so I'm going to roll through my top 5, and then you can tell me what you think. I'm going to start number 5 with your Seattle Seahawks. Number 4, the Saints. I have the 49ers, the reigning NFC champions, at 3. And then my top 2 teams are the Baltimore Ravens, with, of course, Lamar Jackson, the NFL MVP, the runner-up, and then the NFL MVP, Patrick Mahomes, and the Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs, at number 1. What do you think of that top 5?
Well, let's start with number 1. I definitely think that Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs are definitely going to be the top, one of the top teams in the AFC for sure. Yeah. I don't know. Seattle really hasn't made a whole lot of great moves off season, so I kind of agree with you there at number 5. Yeah, I might even maybe drop them down another one, and that's hard for me to say being my former team, but I mean, it's just I've seen a lot of their moves. They won't sign Clowney again. Who did you have at number 3?
I had the Saints at 4, and then the Niners at 3.
Yeah, those 2 teams are definitely two of the better teams in the NFC. I mean, the Niners are the best in their division. There's no question about it, and they're probably going to be again this year. They're not better than the Kansas City, obviously, but the Saints, Drew Brees. I mean, he's constantly up there. I mean, that's one quarterback that hasn't really shown a lot of age.
No, he's always there every year, and despite the controversy with him, his recent controversy with his teammates, I don't think that's going to affect him or the team. And so I'm going to leave them at 4. I could have easily flip-flopped them in the Niners. So, Bill, we're out of time. That was Bill Dugan again joining us, Hornell native, former Seattle Seahawk, offensive lineman. Bill, thanks again for coming on. And as it gets closer to the season, we'll talk some more NFL. And that is the end of our segment here on the Prete Is On. And we will talk to everybody next Saturday Same time, same place, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And remember to listen to the Joe Orion Show coming up right after mine here on 92 on the Team. Thanks again, Bill, for coming up.
Yep.